All right, let's get right into it. We tend to think of death as just an off switch, right? One moment you're here, the next you're not. But what if I told you that in the first 5 minutes after the heart stops, the body is throwing the most chaotic, unsupervised chemical party you can possibly imagine? Today, we're gonna go inside and see what really happens in those first few critical moments. You've heard this line a million times in movies and TV shows. Some doctor or paramedic checks for a pulse, glances at their watch, and makes the call. It sounds so final, so quiet. So, to make this all feel a bit more real, let's imagine a guy named Dave. From the outside, Dave, he looks peaceful now. He's still, but inside Dave's body, oh, nobody got the memo that the party's over. In fact, a wild, incredible biochemical chain reaction has just kicked off. And this, right here, this is the heart of it. On the outside, everything just looks like it's stopped. But on the inside, it's absolute pandemonium. Seriously, think of it like an unsupervised office party the second the boss walks out the door. Every single cell is about to go rogue. So, what kicks this whole thing off? Well, it all starts with the very first domino to fall. The complete and total shutdown of the oxygen supply. And you know, what's amazing is just how fast this all happens. The heart stops, which means circulation stops, period. Within just a couple of minutes, any oxygen left in the system is all used up. The cells, totally desperate for energy, flip a switch to their emergency backup generator, a process called anaerobic metabolism. The only problem? This backup system is dirty. It produces a ton of toxic waste, specifically lactic acid. And that massive buildup of lactic acid? It leads us directly to the next phase, a full-blown crisis of acid and energy that's about to tear the cell apart from the inside. So you've got all this lactic acid building up. Plus, since we're not breathing anymore, carbon dioxide gets trapped inside. All of this causes the pH inside our cells to just plummet. We go from a nice, stable 7.4, which is normal, all the way down to a dangerously acidic environment. It's kind of like flooding every room in your house with pure lemon juice.
Now, to really get what happens next, we have to talk about something called ATP. The easiest way to think about ATP is like the cash of the cell. It's the energy currency that pays for literally everything, from making your muscles move to just keeping the lights on inside the cell.
But here's the thing, without oxygen, the cell's main ATP factories, they just shut down. And that anaerobic backup system we mentioned, it's super inefficient. It burns through the cell's remaining cash reserves of ATP in just a few minutes. And then, suddenly, the power's out for good. And this is where things get really messy. Without ATP, the little security guards on the cell's border, these things called ion pumps, they just quit. Sodium rushes into the cell, potassium leaks out, and water follows the sodium, causing the cell to swell up like a water balloon. And maybe worst of all, calcium, which is normally kept under lock and key, bursts out into the open. It is total, unmitigated system failure.
ATP zero!
All of this chaos, the acid, the lack of energy, the ion imbalance, it's all setting the stage for the main event, which happens right around the 5-minute mark, the beginning of the cell's own self-destruct sequence.
This brings us to a really important word, autolysis. It sounds complicated, but it literally just means self-digestion. Yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. The cell starts eating itself from the inside out. So how does this even start? Well, remember that acidic environment we talked about? It starts to eat away at the walls of the cell's little stomachs, which are called lysosomes. These things are basically little bags filled with super powerful digestive enzymes. And right around that 4 to 5 minute mark, they start to burst. And when they break, all hell breaks loose inside the cell. You've got these rogue enzymes just flooding the place. Proteases start chewing up all the proteins, lipases go to work on the fats, and nucleases start attacking the cell's genetic blueprint. The different departments are now literally eating the office furniture. It's complete self-sabotage. Now, this self-destruction doesn't happen at the same speed everywhere in the body. It kicks off fastest in the organs that are already packed with these kinds of enzymes. You know, places like the liver, the pancreas, and of course, the brain. Okay, so we've just witnessed this incredible microscopic drama unfold. But to really put it all in context, it's just as important to understand what isn't happening yet in these first 5 minutes. If you look at the timeline, it's pretty clear. At the 5-minute mark, the only real show in town is the beginning of this microscopic self-digestion, autolysis. All the things we typically associate with death, like rigor mortis, that's when the blood starts to pool, or rigor mortis, the stiffening of the muscles, those won't even start to show up for at least half an hour, sometimes hours later.
And that brings us right back to where we started. The real story of the first 5 minutes after death isn't something you can see with your own eyes. It's a hidden, it's relentless, and it's a purely chemical cascade. Externally, our guy Dave is just pale and still. But internally, his cells are fighting their final and frankly, fascinating battle.
So the biggest takeaway here is that death isn't just an instant off switch. It's a surprisingly complex and, dare I say, beautiful biological process. And it really leaves you with a question, doesn't it? If this chemical rave is what's happening in just the first 5 minutes, what does the after party look like in the next hour or even the next day?